Sebastian Vettel made his Formula One debut back in 2007 and would then go on to have a career high of 53 Grand Prix victories, making him the third highest scorer in the history of Formula One. This past summer, Vettel announced that he would be retiring at the ripe young age of 35. Did Lawrence Stroll have something to do with his retirement? Let's find out. First and foremost, Lawrence's supposed animosity and Vettel's response. Billionaire Lawrence Stroll can be a bit of a ruthless businessman. We guess billionaires have to be somewhat cutthroat, but nothing in the past really implies any ill will towards the biggest star in the Aston Martin paddock. It was speculated that Vettel's drop in performance from the previous year was proving too much for Lawrence, and he wanted two-time world champion Fernando Alonso to take the seat next to his son, Lance Stroll. The speed which Fernando joined the Aston Martin team after Vettel's retirement only added fuel to the fire. The entire situation with Oscar Piastri, Alpine, and McLaren was so chaotic that the Spaniard's unexpected yet seamless move felt unnatural. It looks like they're all just rumors though, because Vettel denied any pressure from Lawrence to leave the team. Even if he had, we really think Sebastian would have found a seat on the grid if he was still looking. His decision to retire was purely his own. No managers, owners, or drivers in the competition motivated his departure, although he said he did clear the way for him. Interestingly enough, Vettel announced his retirement on his newly created Instagram account. Retiring via the account was one of the very first things he did on social media. Moving on, why did Vettel actually leave Formula One? The 35-year-old driver has been on the racetrack for a long time, making his debut in 2007, and there isn't really anything left to accomplish for the superstar. One could even make a pretty compelling argument that his move to Aston Martin was purely out of love for the sport, not a bid to win a fifth world title. Seb just wants to spend more time with his family right now. He pointed out how his entire life had been a race, and he barely had time for anything else. If you think about it, F1 team members spend over 200 days away from home every year, and vacations really just become recovery time. That's a tall order for a father and a husband, and being with his family provides Vettel with more satisfaction than being on the track right now. On another level, Vettel has never been shy in his efforts to raise awareness of climate change, and it's a cause the driver holds great belief in. The hypocrisy of that existence, however, was getting to the driver. Next up, Vettel's performance with Aston Martin. Seb has done as well as anyone expected from a brand new team on the paddock, and his performances this year and last year have been consistent for the most part. Last year, Seb won AM's only podium in Formula One to date when he landed the green car on the second step in Azerbaijan and ended up 12th in the driver's standings overall. It's also important to compare Seb's performance with that of his fellow driver, Lance Stroll, since he drives the exact same machine. Last year, Seb edged ahead by scoring 44 points to the Stroll's 33. This year, however, Seb has really stretched that lead over his younger counterpart by scoring 32 points to his 13 so far. His expertise on the racetrack wasn't the only reason Seb was at Aston Martin though, and his real contributions came during the development of the car. The quadruple champion's experience and advice were instrumental in getting Aston Martin off to a running start last year. What's more, Sebastian's sadness at finishing the final Suzuka lap. At a track where drivers make a difference, and that too in wet conditions, Sebastian wowed the Suzuka crowd with a strong showing. Nobody was surprised. Suzuka is one of Vettel's favorite tracks on the calendar, having won the Grand Prix 4 times with Red Bull and capturing his second world title there in 2011. Last time F1 came to Japan, it was with Vettel on pole, but he could only manage to get into Q3 during qualifying this year, eventually getting a time good enough for P9 on the grid. Vettel was overjoyed with the lap and the way the car responded, enough to make him regret leaving the sport. Stroll, by comparison, couldn't manage more than 19th at a very wet and very difficult Suzuka circuit. If Saturday was good, Sunday was even better. Seb converted the 9 to a P6 finish when the checkered flag fell, bringing 8 valuable championship points to his team. Fans consider this weekend to be the perfect goodbye from Seb. a reminder of his skill and grace as a driver on a circuit he could very well call home. Finally, what's next for Sebastian Vettel? Formula One is a bit of an all-encompassing career, and removing yourself from it after 15 adrenaline-packed years can be quite an energy dump. Sebastian spoke about this to Sky Sports when he recognized the rush he'd be missing out on when he's not in a race car, but he doesn't hold the desire to immediately get into another cockpit. For the moment, Seb wants to relax and spend time with his family, but he didn't rule out the possibility of moving to another series of racing. It would help him with the adrenaline dump and open a new chapter in his motor racing career as he tries to master a different kind of machine. Lots of F1 drivers have taken this route before, most notably when Kimi Räikkönen took some time off from F1 to go race in the World Rally Championship, and even a short stint in NASCAR. For Seb, Formula E might be the best option. The cars are really fast, and the sport is premised around the environmentally friendly notion of electric cars. If Seb's petrol guilt can be avoided, and once he spends some quality family time, we would love to see him behind a steering wheel. In other news, first up, Verstappen wins his second world title. In stark contrast to the nail-biting finale of the last season, where Verstappen literally snatched the title from Lewis on the last lap of the last race, the Red Bull ace confirmed his second title with 4 races to spare in the season. With his win tally coming to 12, at the recent Japanese Grand Prix, it has become mathematically impossible for Max to lose. While that may be simple to understand, the rain-spotted Japanese Grand Prix had some chaotic aquaplaning and crashes and an incredibly complicated ending. Verstappen had to win the race, while Ferrari's Charles Leclerc had to finish third or lower. Max may have built a staggering 26 seconds between himself and Charles, but he stuck to second place until being given a penalty after the race. Checo picked up the scraps and completed the W2, bringing the Red Bull's point tally to 619 and Verstappen's to 366. We doubt the Dutch phenom is going to relax though, and those numbers will swell before we break for the holidays. Following that, the FIA announces a breach of the cost cap by 2 teams. Williams and Red Bull were notified this month of exceeding the budget caps for last year's 2021 F1 season, albeit by minor amounts. The British company supposedly rectified their mistake back in May in a transparent manner, and their $25,000 slap on the wrist is hardly a reprimand. Red Bull faces an accusation of a discrepancy of less than 5%, but the implications are major because of the already controversial surroundings of Verstappen's first world title. The team has challenged these allegations in a recent press release on social media, claiming their own calculations showed them under the budget, and they would have to review FIA findings before any further comment. Lastly, Gasly reacts to a potentially deadly near crash at Suzuka. Among many headlines from the last race weekend was the potential crash AlphaTauri driver Pierre Gasly could have had. What makes it worse is that it wasn't even a race car. After Carlos Sainz went off due to aquaplaning caused by heavy rainfall, a crane was out on the track to remove the car. None of the teams were informed of the vehicle's presence, and when Pierre Gasly raced out of the pit lane in a hurry to rejoin the pack, he almost smashed into the tractor. Gasly's angry reaction was echoed by drivers, fans, and team members alike. Sergio Perez pointed out that a crane should never be on the track while the cars are out there, especially not when track conditions and visibility are so abysmal. The FIA handed Gasly a time penalty for unsafe release at the moment, but the community waits for an appropriate response to this lapse in judgment. Let us know in the comments if you think Vettel will ever make a comeback, and if Red Bull will get in some real trouble over this budget cap issue. If you enjoyed this video and want a continuous supply of F1 news, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more.